Good afternoon, folks. Today's topic C is discussing fear of death. Now, this falls under end of life care for me, and it also falls under geriatric care for me also. So here we go. Here's a clear, grounded explanation of the article based primarily on the surrounding page content you're viewing. What the article is doing. The piece is a personal reflection blended with gentle guidance. It starts with a relatable moment of unexpected fear. How a simple phrase like planning for the future can trigger spirals about mortality and then expands into broader truth. Many people quietly carry this fear. The author's goal is not to offer clinical steps or philosophical thesis. Instead, the article frames death anxiety as common human softenable through conversation, ritual, and perspective shifts. It's intentionally a story about how dread can be transformed into something more peaceful and purposeful. Key themes from the page. Fear number 1. Fear of death often arrives suddenly. The author describes lying awake after a routine checkup with her father. A casual comment from the doctor becomes a catalyst for racing thoughts and physical anxiety. This mirrors what many people experience. Fear triggered not by catastrophe, but by small, ordinary moments. 2. We're not alone in this fear. Friends confide similar experiences, health scares, sudden losses, or moments that make mortality feel close. The article normalizes this fear of death is not a personal failing, but a shared human experience. Fear can soften with the right supports. The author has witnessed something remarkable. Conversations that make this topic less taboo. Rituals that create grounding and meaning. Perspective shifts that turn dread into appreciation. The message is that fear doesn't have to be eliminated. It can be transformed, for death awareness can become life affirming rather than spiraling into what ifs. The article suggests that facing mortality gently, communally, can deepen purpose and presence. The deeper takeaway. The article is ultimately about reclaiming agency, not by controlling death, but by reshaping our relationship with it. It suggests that when we talk openly, create rituals, and allow ourselves to feel the fear without shame, something opens up. More gratitude, more clarity, more connection, more peace. It's a shift from dread to meaning. That fits the human participatory work you're already doing. The importance of thinking about death and how it can help you, based primarily on the surrounding page content you're viewing. What the article is really doing. The piece isn't trying to be morbid or dramatic, it's doing something much more practical and compassionate, reframing death contemplation as a path to deeper happiness, clarity, and presence. The author, writing from an early Buddhist perspective, argues that Buddhists don't think about death because they obsessed with it. They think about death because they're obsessed with living well. The whole article is essentially a gentle but firm invitation to stop postponing the inner work that makes life meaningful. Core idea from the page. Death contemplation is about appreciating life, not fearing death. The author uses the metaphor of an expiration date written invisible ink on our foreheads. We all have one, we just can't see it. This isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up to the preciousness of your days. When you remember that time is finite, pretty irritations shrink, relationships matter more, judge, judges feel heavier and less worth carrying, purpose becomes clearer. This is a this is a classic Buddhist mind training, using reality, not fantasy, to cultivate peace. Two, Buddhism doesn't uh, fixate on death. It treats it as one essential topic among many. The article pushes back on the stereotype that Buddhists love talking about death. Instead, it explains some Buddhist traditions barely touch the topic. Others, like Tibetan lineages, emphasize it heavily. All treat it as a tool for reducing suffering and increasing contentment. Death contemplation is optional but powerful. Thinking about death or thinking about death helps you stop wasting time. The author describes how imagining 6 months left to live can sharpen, can snap you into alignment with what truly matters. This echoes what many people report after near death experiences: more kindness, less distraction, less clinging, more courage, more presence. The three Buddhist truths about death. The article distills Buddhist teachings into three simple points. Death is certain, not someday, in the present moment when it arrives. Avoiding this truth creates fragility. What you take with you is the state of your mind, not possessions, not achievements, your mental habits. This is why preparing the mind matters. The timing and conditions of death are unknown. This uncertainty is exactly why preparation brings peace. These aren't meant to frighten you, they're meant to free you. Five, avoiding the topic causes more suffering for you and those who love you. The author is blunt here. When people refuse to talk about death, they often die unprepared, terrified, clinging, in conflict with reality, and their families suffer more because of it. Thinking about death is framed as an act of compassion for yourself and for everyone who will one day sit at your bedside. The deeper takeaway. The article message, simple but profound. Facing death honestly makes life richer, kinder, and more meaningful. When you stop pretending you have unlimited time, you live more intentionally, you love more generously, you suffer less from trivial things, you become more resilient. You stop talking, you stop taking life for granted. This is why Buddhism treats death, uh, contemplation, as a path to happiness, not despair. Okay, guys, so that is your C. I will be back on with D shortly. So for now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks. See everybody shortly for D. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.